You Can't Kill Me by 070 Shake. It is 14 songs, 48 minutes long. Um, I feel like we reviewed did we reviewed their 2020 album? I like
Yeah.
to say we did, right? Because I haven't listened to Modus. Even I can never say that album right.
Yeah, Modus Vivendi. We did
Hmm.
review it. I loved it. I said she
Yeah,
sounded like a younger alternative version of like The Weeknd in that essentially. Um it was really good. It was one of my favorites of that
I can
year.
see that.
Um Songs like Morrow, Under the Moon,
Yeah.
really
Under
phenomenal
the Moon was
tracks.
hard.
Um the person who I plug in the new singles portion of the episode, usually Peter, really wanted to have us review 070 Shake, and of course, like bless, she's a really great artist, because he just loved this album. He just thought it was
Mhm.
really well produced. I love stuff in here because it does that thing with pop that we've liked recently, where it plays with the absence of sound and doesn't make it
Yes,
sound underproduced, but actually makes
yes.
it provide an emotional depth to that song and a feeling. Um, that there's a song I'm particularly coming for that I really, really enjoyed. But I this is her second album, and it is so hard to do a second album right. Basically,
Remember,
if
as Robin Pecknold says, I am so glad I never have to make a second album again for the rest of my life. It's so hard to do.
the curse.
The curse, exactly. The curse.
Anyways, let's jump in it. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, he does this. Just get that out of the way. Fucking love it. Damn good record. It starts off with Web, which
Web.
is an interesting opening track that I do like. I love how like it kind of crescendos and all the voices and all the layering and stuff kind of goes and wraps around your head. You get this beautiful crescendo towards the end of the record, and then it gets you right into Invited, which is another like quieter, understated track and everything that like which you were alluding to of doing less is more. We like that in pop a lot right now. But it was interesting because you hear like a lot of different influences throughout this record, like some Latin pop sound and everything with a couple tracks where you have the skip beat thingy that I always call that they all do the same sounding one, but is done a little bit differently to how it is done a lot in Latin. I think I'm trying to think of what track it is. Was it like maybe Medicine or something like that? But anyways, going through it, like a third track, History, you get more of that like blend between like trap sounding, but also understated pop and blending a lot of different genres together, but still getting like a very cohesive project, which is something that I enjoy. It's something that I think that with a second record, you can get stuck on trying to outprove yourself in a way, like prove, hey, I made a fantastic open, like fantastic record that a lot of people liked, a lot of reviewers like, we like too. But I could do better. But it's still staying within your, limits as an artist too, to where you're not overdoing it. You're not doing so much to try to outprove that work that it just, fizzles out in the wind. It's not
Yeah,
doing that, which is
staying in
something
your
that I
limits
like.
is one way to put it. I don't think it's a bad way, but I think like even
No,
another way to
because
put it is like just like instead of trying to, like you were saying, overprove yourself, oftentimes artists end up not really picking a focus. And the best second albums are honestly focused projects where you don't maybe like limit yourself, but you pick your own limit, so to speak, or you allow yourself a boundary and you just cover that boundary front to back,
hmm
or cover everything within
exactly.
that boundary front to back.
Yeah, and like I don't remember when I said it was like a week ago or 2 weeks, 2 episodes ago, maybe on Audioface. I was saying like, as humans, we all have limits, right? We all have a certain amount of things that we just have. Like, just everybody's different in that way. And I think, some people can create more, some people can't create as much. But within that, I think a lot of people, like especially on second records, a lot of artists on second records, they try to do so much. They try to do something where they rely too heavily on production. They rely too heavy on their voice as an instrument. They rely too heavy producers for help or something, to where then it doesn't feel genuine. This is one of those second records where it's rare that you get something where it's, oh, I honestly I like this a little bit more than Modus Vivendi. Oh my god, fuck, I can never say that record. But
Vivendi.
Modus. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sean Words. I like it even more than that because it does this thing where it's blending so many genres together, but going to that next step within pop. Example, my favorite song on the record, probably, which is Skin and Bones, the fifth song. It does this really cool thing where it's like a neo pop song, but it has this like guitar part in the background where it's like really loud electronic that's kind of going through, but then also slows down and has like a weekend sounding part in the middle of it too. So it blends all of these genres into one, but it does it so well that it's like it's new. You don't really get this sound with anyone else. It's doing so much, but it's doing so little at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's done so well that you're left like sitting there like, whoa, what did I just listen to in that way? And I love it when someone experiments so much that you want to like listen to it again to figure out, oh my god, there's a lot of different sounds in here that I'm missing. Like the first listen through, you hear it like one way. Second listen through, I heard another one. The third listen through, I heard it even a different way. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Where there's so many layers to it that you just try to strip it back, strip it back, strip it back. Like, whoa, there's way more to this track than I've even on that second or third listen, which is something that I love. And as like an audio nerd and everything, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is it doesn't go off on a tangent too much to where it gets like overdone. So
It's all about
cool.
staying within those boundaries, but working like every little part of that boundary so you
Exactly.
can really show your musical prowess, but you don't go overboard. You don't like freak people out with what you're doing here. But I think
Exactly. Yeah.
my favorite part of it was Cocoon, just because the
Cocoon's a
way
great
the
track.
chorus drops. Um, it's almost like what people love with Bad Guy about how like there's a drop in a pop song, so to speak, but it's really just kind of
Yeah.
bringing in the synth bass, which is like one of my
Yep.
favorite things in a lot of like pop music. But God, I love that chorus. I love the way it sort of just like moves and grooves and drones in like the good way kind of possible,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
sets the album going off in a really like groovy way, even just halfway through. And then like as you kind of continue through the rest of the songs, it has I guess I just really kind of messed up here because I gave most of my explanation in the beginning. There are boundaries within this album, and I think those boundaries is smart to do in a second record. It makes the second record a strong second record, one of the few strong second records that artists can really accomplish. And it's a great record in general. And because every part of that boundary that she made for herself is covered and well produced and tightly produced, barely any features here except for the Christine and the Queens feature in Body, which is also very, very nice. You do almost the impossible, which is creating a second album that stands on its own as a phenomenal project that improves upon what was done in the first record. Because I did like the first record quite a lot, but I don't think the first record has the same sort of cohesion as the second one does. You see little bits of it here and there as
Yeah.
like, they wanted to like have a concept album be created here, but I think it's done. Modus Vivendi was 44 minutes long. You Can't Kill Me was 48 minutes long. Somehow You Can't Kill Me feels shorter. And so
I could definitely see that.
I think a lot of that's just because, the I don't want to say filler, but that the extras are cut out. You really are refined to most, if not all, of your best kind of work that brings you from start to finish in a piece together. And as a concept album, it really works tightly.
Yeah, and then towards like the latter half of the record, you get my second favorite, which is "Come Back Home," and this is like the epitome of what you can do with making new sounds. Like you have this beautiful electronic beat throughout the track, but you're still blending all these different genres together, so you get this wonderful crescendo about 3 minutes into a 5 minute long track that just it keeps building and building and building, and you're left just jaw dropped on the floor of holy shit, like artists can do this. And that's to me when I got to this part of the album where I'm like, this is one of those records that's gonna have so much so much longevity with it, where people are gonna come back to this and be like, this is what pivoted a bunch of sound for me, or pivoted my opinions on certain genres or whatever. Or for me, like as us as reviewers, it's like, okay, this is what can be done in pop. This is what can be done in this realm of experimental music, of experimental pop and whatnot, and seeing what people can do when they're given creative freedom in that way. And it's so impressive as a second record. I love it. I can't say any more good things about it, but like this is going to be one of those records that I'm just going to keep listening to and keep listening to, and just get through more and more and more. And it's up there with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers as just two of my favorite records this year. Of just like, there's
Damn.
so much shit to listen to between those two records, where I can just keep getting more and more through it. It's rare for me and it's something that I love, because I can get on a tangent and listen to a record for a week straight, like
Yeah, no,
20 times, and I could do
I
that with this easily.
this is one thing I remember about you just like very well. That when I was thinking about, oh, let's do a music podcast, like you were one of the first people I thought of, was because of like really sinking your teeth into an album when there's so much to explore. And I think that's when you and myself, it's some of the times when we enjoy music the most, is being able to explore an album and like explore all the different layers, experience it in different moods and times and moments. And this is one of those records that does it. I think for a while, definitely you. And some parts, except I, were just like very curmudgeonly and exhausted with albums that didn't give you that feeling, just like kind of all
Mm,
the time. Because once you get that kind of feeling from an album, it's, I've been saying it a lot this year, which might be indicating that this is a very good year in music, like an off the charts year in music.
it
But
is.
you listen to an album, it makes you look at some other albums and go like, pick up the slack. Like,
100%. Like, easily those that with so many different artists. And there, I did write one note down that I did forget to mention. The last thing that actually a lot of this album reminded me is of Burial, the one of my favorite electronic early dubstep makers of like really obscure electronic music. It sounded a lot like his second record, where you get a lot of that really dark, ethereal sounding things of you alone by yourself walking through the street, but it's still pop music in a way. And it's something that really not many people make. And if they try to make it, it doesn't sound right most of the time. But now you get some of these people that can. And yeah, this is just phenomenal of a record. I love it. I'm
some of the
glad that
best.
we put this on there. So listen to it. There's so much to dive into, and I can't wait to really like be able to really get through. Like a month, 2 months from now, I'm gonna still be trying to decipher all of it.
Yes. Arbitrary scale this week. We do arbitrary scales in Audioface because our review is our review. We went into this album very long as well. Guess it's an Audioface After Dark thing. And basically if you want like a ranking system for or like 3 or 4 paragraphs about an album, there are websites that will satiate that need for you. Not to call them out, but you
Hmm.
know who they are. But if you want to really deep dive into a record, that's what Audioface is about. You can become an Audioface member at join.syndicate23.co and even get more of what Audioface is about. Trust me, it's a fun time. This week, the arbitrary scale are worst power outages. And I think I just agreed with yours in the last review for the record, but you
Mm,
know, that's fine. That happens from time to time. Um, I'm going to give this the 2012 Derecho Blackout. Derecho is like a weather
it's a
event that
good
I
one.
only learned about for Power Report in 2021,
Oh
I want to
yeah,
say. Or maybe it was even 2020.
it's
But
oh yeah,
basically, it's like a bunch of thunderstorms that work together to cause hurricane force winds, tornadoes, and flash floods. It kind of happens around the same area the country gets tornadoes, hence the tornadoes and hurricane force winds that you get through it.
yeah.
And as because of climate change, it's getting worse. It affected states including Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and New Jersey. The resulting damage caused 4.2 million people across 11 states and the District of Columbia to lose power. power
Yeah,
restoration took 7 to 10 days in some areas. That's a mean one.
basically, it's a giant squall line of thunderstorms that create, and they're pretty fucking gnarly. That's a
Yeah.
really good one.
But in
Yeah.
this arbitrary
Uh,
scale, the gnarlier
Great
is better.
shows. This is definitely in 1997 New York City by the lightning strike that set the fucking like the largest I think like
Oh,
the
the
largest power
1977.
thingy. Yeah, where it started the riots where like a bunch of people were killed and like thousands of looters were arrested and stuff because it was down like economic downtimes and stuff in the 70s and it was wild. Yeah.
Crown
There we go.
Heights,
Yeah. The
baby.
Crown Heights, yeah, the Crown Heights one.
Yeah.
The wilder the better.
It's real out here. Anyways,